Hi everybody, welcome to Guitar in the Real World. This week I thought I would take a look at the subject of songwriting, structure, harmony, functional harmony. This week I decided to make a do my own version, a guitar ensemble version if you will, of Donald Fagen's New Frontier from his Nightfly album, which I'm a massive fan of, along with many musicians. We all love it. It's a very important album, I think, in the history of American songwriting. It came out in 1982. If anybody doesn't know much about it, get onto Google and check Donald and Steely Dan out. Anyway, this song is, I always see it as being side 2, song number 1. And the sort of subject for the whole album is really growing up in America in the 50s and 60s. This song is a little ode to having a party in a nuclear fallout shelter. Typical ironic humour in Donald Fagen's lyrics there. But aside from the lyrics, the music itself is incredibly well crafted, just on a songwriting point of view, before we even start looking at the playing and the production and so on. So we'll dive right in, and I'll talk about the structure of the song first. The sections of this song are quite small, quite short. We have an intro section, which is actually, how many bars long? The intro is actually 10 bars long, and it repeats. And there's a bit of slight change in the way the harmony works before it goes into the verse. So we have our intro section, and then we have the A section twice. It's a very short A section. It's actually only it's weird actually. It's a 7-bar section and it happens twice, so you could call it A. And then we have a little B section, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars long again. So we've got some weird phrase lengths in this song, but they all feel really natural. And then you go back to the A section twice, B section twice, and then you get into the C section, which is essentially the bridge. And yeah, the structure of this song sort of goes back on that. There's a guitar solo in the middle of it, and then we finish on an elongated version of the intro section. So the great thing about this song is that we can cover quite a lot of ground without having to dissect a really long piece of music, because each individual section is so short, but there's a definite demonstration of a real good understanding of functional harmony in this song. So the intro section, we get this. So that's basically a B9. If he plays a figure like that, which is like a B6 to an A6 figure over a bass line, then the similar thing happens over the D, so it's like a D ninth, C sharp minor 7th, F sharp 7th, A over B, and then we get this thing, kind of an E 7th with a passing note there. Now straight away, this figure is something that you will find in earlier Steely Dan work. The song Chain Lightning, which came out on the album Katie Live from 1975, is based around this kind of pattern. It's very similar to kind of big band riffing. Think about maybe a Count Basie kind of thing. Imagine the sax section doing something like that. So that really is something that's rooted in kind of jazz history as well as songwriting history. So yeah, we've got our B version of this. C sharp minor 7th. So that's the 4 bars that links us into the A section, and it's slightly different to what happens at the first time round the intro, and it's essentially E minor 7th to E 7th, then E7 sus4 back to E 7th. This song is essentially in the key of E, but we've got a lot of 7ths a lot of E7s on the tonic chord, to give it much more bluesy kind of quality. And again, the blues is very much at the heart of a lot of Donald Fagen's writing. When we talk about the function of what happens in that intro, because we're still on the intro and we're talking about all the incredible things that are going on in this. The song is in E, but we start on B, which is the 5 chord. Then we go up to D ninth. Now, D ninth in the key of E, what's that all about? This is quite common in jazz standards, where you get a song where the 4 chord turns into a minor chord. So if we were playing a song that was in E and then went to A, you might get that kind of sound before going back to the E. So the D ninth is a substitution for the A minor, which was often played as an A minor 6. That's what you would have seen in older jazz, 1930s, pre-bebop kind of harmony. That's what you would have seen quite commonly. So the second chord of the intro is that D9. And then we're going to C minor 7th, which is chord 6 in E, and then F sharp 7th, which is the secondary dominant in the key of E. What's a secondary dominant? It's the dominant of the dominant. We're in the key of E, the dominant would be B, so the dominant of B is F sharp 7th. What song do we know that has a secondary dominant in it? A jazz standard which is really well known. Take the A train. So that's another example of the secondary dominant. So we've got our F sharp 7th in this song, and then we go to A over B, which is the dominant sus4 is a B7 sus4 basically, which takes us back to the first time round, or this second time round. Okay, so there you have it. That's your intro section. Now the verse, you've got a little bluesy kind of pentatonic line, which is the same harmonic setting as we had in the intro. It's the chain lightning thing again. So, yes, we're gonna have a wing thing. And he holds that for 2 bars, and then we've got the old. And then we get that little riff again. And then we get the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. In case the reds decide to push the button down. Okay, so that's our A section twice round. 7 bars a piece. This then takes us into our B section, if you like, although you could say it's an extended tag to the verse, maybe. I don't know. There may be some discussion about what's going on with respect to the form of this. But anyway, the next section is your melody, but he goes very much to the. So there's the 4 chord, A major 7th to D9 with a sharp 11th, which means it's like a substitution for that 4 minor that I talked about a minute ago, like we had in the intro section. Since we're still in E, the song's still in E, but we've gone to the 4 chord, and then we get the flat 7. Then we get this thing. So we get that random C13. I don't know whether it's I have a feeling it might be kind of moving a bit like it does in the original, in the earlier parts of the song. But it's essentially E13, E9 thing. Now that's a strange. We're in the key of E. Why have we got that? Well, that's the flat 6, which is quite a common bluesy chord movement. Which of course could also be a tritone substitution for your secondary dominant. So, although we're in the key of E, that C7 effectively. It's not as weird as it may look, but it does create a really great sense of harmonic direction before getting back to the... And then we go into the B section, sorry, the A section again, twice, and the B section. So we get that section round twice. After that, we go into this lovely little bridge section, which is, yeah, perfectly formed. So he sings this. Well, I can't wait till I move to the city. That's the first phrase. And what happens is he's playing on an E11th or a D over E. I can't wait. So our 1 chord is now sounding very much more like a dominant chord, which takes us to our A major 7th, which is our 4 chord. But to get us to that point, he doesn't hang around on that chord. He puts a sneaky little G sharp augmented in there. G sharp augmented is the first inversion of an E augmented, so which is you can commonly use. You know, if I was to play E augmented, that would take us back to the A chord. So it's just an inversion of the augmented. I don't think there's any other notes in there. I sort of searched around to see whether he was actually inverting an E7th with a sharp 5 thing in it, but I think it's just a straight G sharp augmented. And then he goes into this little turnaround, and the melody he holds over that C sharp across the bar, and this is where he could have kept the harmony much more simple. I'll play the chords as they go, okay? Well, I can't wait till I move to the city. Then he plays this. Till I finally make up my mind to learn design and study overseas. Then you're back to the verse. Now, what on earth is going on there? I'll say the chords as they go past, and then I'll explain why I'll explain how it works. I can't tell you why he chose to write this, but their first chord, E11th, going to the G sharp augmented to the A major 7th, then he plays a E6, then he plays D6, and then he plays D sharp 7 sharp 9 to G sharp minor 7 to C sharp 7th altered, and then he plays F sharp minor 7th, C9 probably with a sharp 11, B7 sus 4 to B flat 7 flat 5, back to that verse. Okay, now he could have simplified this whole harmonic movement of this. He could have done this. Well, I can't wait till I move to the city, till I finally make up my mind to learn design and study overseas. And then back to that verse. He could have maybe gone. That would have been more logical, perhaps. 2 5 1 into E. But he doesn't do that. Let's look at. So we talked earlier about that passing chord to the A major 7th, and he basically the E6 chord is really closely related. It's almost like the upper structure of an A major 9 chord, but with an E in the bass. And then he does this movement, D6, which then goes to the D sharp 7 sharp 9. Now this little movement you will find in countless Steely Dan songs. Think about Deacon Blues. What does it do? It's sort of this. We've heard that sound before. Black Cow's got similar stuff going on. Often those 2 chords are interchangeable, but in reverse. But it's the Black Cow move. Also in the long lost second arrangement, which was the song that got deleted. The final mix got deleted. Not the final mix, actually, the master, the multi-track got deleted when they were making Gaucho. But there are rough mixes of it knocking about on the internet. And that very same movement features in that song. Or, you know, It's an F major 7th, I think, in this song. This G6 9, F major 7, F sharp 7 sharp, F sharp 7 sharp 9, G6 9. That's it happens at, I think, bar 5 of the verse. So the second arrangement, you get this. So it's a very common little chord maneuver for Donald Fagen to use. So in the context of this song, we've got this D6 taking us there, and that's the dominant now of our G sharp minor 7th, which is our 3 chord in the key of E. Okay, so he's used some trickery to get to the 3 chord. So we've gone 4, 1, flat 7, and then he's putting that sharp 9 in to get us to the 3 chord. Then instead of playing like a C sharp minor 7th, he's chosen to make a C altered because we're going to the F sharp minor, which is the 2 chord. And instead of doing the boring 2-5-1 into E, with an E7, which will get us back to the A thing, he's gone F sharp minor 7th, C9 sharp 11, which is kind of a tritone substitution of that secondary dominant thing. A over B, B7 sus4, which is obviously coming from the movement of, you know, if you're treating the F sharp as the dominant, you're moving to a B, and then he's playing, instead of playing an E chord at this point, he's playing the tritone substitution of an E7th. He's playing B flat 7 flat 5, which of course the whole thing sounds so much hipper doing that rather than just playing straight 2-5-1s. And that's basically it. That is the song. Those sections come round a number of times, and then we close out on the intro section. So yeah, I hope that explains clearly what's going on with the harmony of this song. It's a great study in functional harmony writing. Check out other Donald Fagen and Steely Dan material to see where some of these traits reoccur. Look at the songs that I mentioned. Another song where we find that kind of movement, the sharp 9 to 6 or 6-9 movement in Peg, the intro to Peg, does this. It's all over the place, actually. But if you're familiar with Steely Dan's output, you'll know those sounds for sure. Okay, great. I'll see you next time, guys. Cheers.